All right, good evening, everybody. For this presentation, I'd like to talk about investment opportunities in Colorado. I use Zillow data to forecast the best investment opportunities in several Colorado zip codes. So, first I'd like to go over what the data was and which zip codes I used. So I used the Zillow data set. It is average home prices for a zip code collected monthly from April 1996 until April 2018. I made my decisions based kind of on locality and proximity to rural versus metropolitan areas. So you'll see I used Aurora, Denver, three zip codes in Boulder and Colorado Springs. I used Durango, Grand Junction, Fruita, Clifton, Montrose, and Cortez. Again, some of those are more rural and some of them are metropolitan areas. I kind of wanted to see what the picture was in southwestern Colorado. So this is just a brief look at home prices. You'll notice there's kind of a dip here. Whoops. There's kind of a dip here, and then for most of them, it pretty sharply increases, especially you look at Boulder 80302 is kind of an outlier here. I just thought this would be an interesting graph to kind of get a quick overview of what we're looking at. So the next question I had to answer was how to determine the best investment. So for the purpose of this research, I calculated the return on investment as the predicted home price subtract the last recorded home price, so the difference in home prices, divided by the last recorded home price. So that difference gives us a percentage. Say it's a 3.8%. If we invest $1, we'll get 3.8 cents back. So according to my data, the top 5 zip codes to invest in were Aurora, Denver, Grand Junction, Boulder 80302, and Boulder 80303. You'll notice Aurora is very high, and people can draw their own conclusions there about why that is, but I thought it was very interesting. And this is a graph. You'll notice it goes from 125 area all the way up to 300,000 in a very short span of time. These are listed in order, so Denver at 16.3% is the next, the closest competitor to that. It's quite a large return on investment. And just out of curiosity, I went ahead and did the bottom 5 zip codes. I wanted to look at if there was anywhere in my study that we definitely did not want to invest. And in this case, Montrose is one of those where we definitely don't want to invest. You see it dips down around 20 months. It starts to go back up, but it's still a net loss. We would lose 6.2 cents for every dollar invested. Something interesting to note about this data is that, again, these are in order going from lowest to highest. And Montrose is the only one that we'll lose money on. It's not a bad idea to invest in, say, Clifton, but it's just not as good as if we invested in Aurora. So some of the conclusions that I drew here, again, all but one of the studied zip codes had a positive return on investment. And that best one would be Aurora. Again, you can draw your own conclusions as to why, but we would expect a 35% return on investment. Again, that Montrose is a negative. I definitely would not recommend investing there. And something interesting that I found is that ROIs can vary between zip codes in the same city. For example, we saw 2 of the zip codes in Boulder were in our top 5, whereas one of them was actually right about smack dab in the middle. And in Grand Junction, I believe one of them was in the top 5, and one of them right next door was in the bottom 5. So I think it's very interesting. It's important to look at the data before we invest. But yeah, those are my recommendations and my conclusions. I would now open up this presentation if anyone has any questions. Thank you and have a good night.